Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So, by popular demand, we're bringing back the Which Badges Do Players Need series. So, we're going to be looking at Julius Randle, and for the first time, I'm going to be doing Next Gen as well. So, if you want to look at Next Gen, go to the timestamp that's above my head, and of course, you'll get your Next Gen coverage. But for Current Gen, let's get into it. Alrighty, nice of you to join me on the Current Gen. So, the first badge we're going to be looking at is pretty much quite an obvious one. It is going to be Deadeye. Now, Deadeye at the moment it's not as expensive as it used to be, but it is still quite expensive. So gold is, yeah, it's about 15,000 MT, so it's a little ridiculous. I will say badge prices could be at the moment a little more inflated, just because obviously we are still in the weekend, people are buying badges for their players, but you're looking at about 10k for bronze, 10k for silver, and then sadly about 15 to 20k for gold, depending on what time of day you get it. Now, I'll be honest guys, these ones are quite weird. So I'm going to explain why this is quite weird. It's because this card off the get-go gets 66 badges off the get-go. Now, the next one we're going to be at is Pickpocket. He does have an 80 steal, so it's definitely, you know, at the higher end of this steal rating, but it is, obviously, Pickpocket, I think, is a badge that you should have on this card, even if you're running a power forward and center. I do think it's a badge you do need to run. Next badge we're looking at is Slippery Off Ball. Again, thankfully, a cheap-ish badge. As you can see, bronze there's about less, well, it would be about 1,000. Slippery Off Ball would be about 1,000 to 1,500. And of course, gold will be about 1,000 to 1,500 as well. Basically, what it does, it strengthens the player's ability to actually get open off the ball. So it maybe like break apart from a defender, maybe for running plays, etc., etc. This badge is going to be really good for him. Now, it does take into account, obviously, the AI of the player, but obviously this game is garbage as is, but you want to use every single opportunity to just get your players open, and having this badge really does help with that. Next badge we have a Flexible Release. Sadly, is an expensive badge. Someone's price locking these at 14k at silver, but it's not usually at 14k if I just go to silver right here. So gold you saw is about 10k, and silver is about also about 10k, and it's how like a bronze. Bronze is a little bit cheaper, thankfully. It's about 8 or 9k. Again, quite an expensive badge, unfortunately, but it reduces the penalty suffered from mistimed jump shots, which, if you're not greening consistently, like me, this badge is really, really nice to have. And the next badge we have is Defensive Leader. It's a badge that's slowly creeping up in price. I'm not too sure why. Maybe 2K is starting to decrease the amount of cards that actually have this badge off the get-go. But Defensive Leader, again, it's not usually a badge I recommend. It's more of an honorable mention. But this card already has so many good badges. Again, he has 66 badges off the get-go. It's kind of hard to recommend you guys actually decent badges. We're already on 5 badges as is. Defensive Leader, if you're unaware, if you have, I think, 2 players that have Defensive Leader, if you have, say, a card as Hall of Fame Defensive Leader, it can boost some stats up by 4. I think gold is 3, and then silver is 2, bronze is 1, etc., etc. So obviously, if you can get some attribute boosts, obviously, it's a great way to do it through Defensive Leader. If you don't want to go out and buy a shoe, etc., etc., this is a great way to increase your player's stats. Now, guys, we have 3 badges left. We have Clutch Shooter, Ice in Veins, or Steady. Steady, you're probably not going to put on this card. We'll talk about that in next gen's video, but so Steady we're not going to probably put on this card. Ice in Vein improves your player's free throw percentage during critical moments. You could maybe see an argument to have this on the floor just in case you accidentally get fouled, for example. But even just looking at his free throw rating, it's an 85. So maybe Ice in Veins, you could think. Obviously, Ice in Veins, you can make an argument to have Ice in Veins, but I think it's literally out of Ice in Veins and Clutch Shooter. So you kind of have to figure out what you're going to be doing, whether obviously maybe Clutch Shooter is more of a, you'll find yourself more in clutch positions, but will you shoot with Julius Randle over other players? You kind of have to figure that out yourself, obviously what you want. Me personally, I'll probably put Clutch Shooter on just because it's very rare my power forwards end up on the free throw line, just because they're usually the one inbounding the ball to either a point guard or a shooting guard. Obviously there is that situation where he might end up on the free throw line during clutch situations, and as long as the camera doesn't spin you around halfway through the free throw, you should be fine. Alrighty, we're on Next Gen. Thank you guys for joining me on Next Gen. Of course, you might have skipped to the time frame of this video. So, it's going to be talking about Julius Randle and what Next Gen badges he needs. So, let's get into it, boys. Now, the first badge is quite an obvious one. It is Deadeye. Now, unfortunately, Deadeye, silver, and bronze are about 10,000 MT each, and gold is about 15 to 20,000. But of course, I think Deadeye is a badge that every single player needs. Even if you don't even plan on shooting with that player ever, I think it's a badge every single player in this game needs. Alrighty, so the next badge I recommend, it's kind of an obvious one, is Blinders. Of course, if you're on current gen, this is Steady Shooter, but if you're on next gen, it is Blinders, and that's why this badge is still so expensive. So, becomes unfazed by defenders from the side. Again, I just think this is an obvious badge. This card has a really nice shot release. This card is really good at shooting. So again, I imagine you'll be shooting a lot with this card. So blinders, I just think it's a no-brainer. The next badge we have is slippery off ball. So strengthens the player ability to get open off the ball. Now, I think this card is really effective if you're running plays, and also even if you're not running plays, if you're just playing with the card in general. I think anything that boosts your player's ability to get open, I think is a really nice badge, and especially because how bad this player AI is. I think this badge is really, I think it's underrated for most players, I'll be honest, but I do think this is a badge you guys need. Next badge we have is Pickpocket. So this card actually has an 80 steal. So along with 80 steal, along with this badge, improves the ability to steal the ball from a ball handler. It's really good. This helps if they're running like Giannis or something like that. This badge will really help you in situations like that. Now this is more of an honorable mention, just kind of depends how this badge works. I'm not fully versed on how this badge works. Boost to well-aimed shots. Now, if this is well-aimed in terms of like you using the right stick to actually aim, obviously then it's an honorable mention just in case obviously you use the right stick to aim with players. But if you're using square and this actually doesn't boost you using square, then obviously you don't really need this badge. But if this is what I think it means, where you use the right stick to aim and it gives a boost to that, obviously if you use the right stick to shoot, use sniper. If you don't, then you just don't really need to use it. And the next badge we have is Defensive Leader. Again, it's not usually a badge I recommend. It's more in the honorable mentions section. But this guy has so many badges off the get-go already. He has 66 badges off the get-go. So that is kind of ridiculous. So 66 badges. So we're kind of at slim pickings for which badges to give him. But Defensive Leader, if you guys don't know how it works, basically if you have Hall of Fame Defensive Leader on your lineup, your players get a +4, to my knowledge, a +4 boost on their defensive stats. So if you have gold, it's +3. If you have bronze, it's +1. If you have silver, it's +2, etc, etc. So again, it's just a really nice badge to have. You have a slot available for it, so you may as well. And the final badge I recommend for this card is Clutch Shooter. So pretty much says what it does on the tin. Increases the ability to knock down shots in clutch moments. Again, it kind of depends how often you're going to find yourself in a clutch position and needing Julius Randle to knock down a shot. But I think this badge is more of a better safe than sorry kind of measure. And it's a cheap badge as well. And again, when this card is struggling to find which badges in particular he needs, it's kind of hard to suggest certain badges, but obviously I think Clutch Shooter is one you definitely need. And that's it, boys. That's it for current gen and next gen. Again, it's really hard to find badges for this card just because there's not that many badges to choose. So again, you have 6 badges to pick for this card. 5 of them I think are really strong picks for this card, and then the one at the end is your honorable mention. So yeah, boys, hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please drop a like in the video, subscribe to the channel if you are brand new around here. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Peace. I want to give a massive shout out to channel members Joe Sellin, Jack Lane, Lindsay Nell, Josh's mum, and Vios. Thank you for your support, guys.